Welcome to Share Online Television. I am Michael Bui. We are going to explore the history of the cherry trees grown in Washington, D.C. The tradition of celebrating the cherry blossom trees in Japan is century old. The planting of the cherry trees in Washington, D.C. originated in 1912 as a gift of friendship to the people of the United States from the people of Japan.
Congratulations!
In Japan, the cherry blossom tree is an important flower tree. It is a symbol of rich meaning in Japanese culture. The American people has celebrated cherry trees blooming in solidarity more than 100 years. Begin in 1885, Miss Eliza Sigmore was the world traveler, writer, diplomat. Upon her return to Washington from the first visit to Japan, Miss Sigmore approached the U.S. Army Superintendent of the Office of Building and Grounds with the proposal that Japanese trees be planted one day along the Potomac waterfront. Her requests were ignored. No one listened. Over the next 24 years, Miss Sigmore approached every new superintendent to propose the idea of Japanese cherry trees in Washington, D.C. In 1909, Miss Sigmore decided to raise money to purchase the cherry trees and then donate them to the city of Washington, D.C. She sent a note outlining her plan to the First Lady, Helen Taft. The First Lady Taft has been lived in Japan and was familiar with the beauty of the flowering cherry trees. 2 days later, the First Lady responded to the letter of Miss Sigmore. The White House, Washington, D.C., April 7, 1909. Thank you very much for your suggestion about the cherry trees. I am taking the matter up and I am promised we'll get the cherry trees. But I thought it would be best to make an avenue of them, extending down to the turn of the road. Be very lovely that we grow along the avenue. Let me know what do you think about this. The day after the letter of First Lady, Dr. Takamine, who discovered the adrenaline, was in Washington, D.C. with the Japanese counselor in New York, Mr. Mizuno. When he was told that Washington wanted to have Japanese cherry tree planted along the speedway, he asked whether the First Lady Taft would accept a donation of 2,000 trees. Mr. Counselor suggests that the tree be given in the name of the city of Tokyo. Dr. Takamine asked the mayor of Tokyo, Yukio Ozaki, to support making a gift of cherry trees to the United States. The mayor of Tokyo supported the idea. The First Lady of the United States, Helen Taft, agreed to accept a donation of 2,000 cherry trees. On August 30th, 1909, the Japanese ambassador informed the Department of State that the city of Tokyo intends to donate to the United States 2,000 cherry trees to be planted along the Potomac River. December 10, 1909, 2,000 cherry trees arrived in Seattle, Washington State from Japan. January 6, 1910, the 2,000 trees arrived in Washington, D.C. January 19, everyone was dismayed. An inspection team from Department of Agriculture discovered that the trees were infested with insects and was diseased. To protect American growers, the department concluded that the trees must be destroyed. On January 28, 1910, United States President William Taft granted his consent to burn those trees. The Secretary of State sent a letter to the Japanese ambassador expressing a deep regret of all concerned. All parties involved from Japan meet with the distressing news, but with determination and goodwill. Tokyo Mayor Yukio Ozaki announced the success. The second donation will be made, and the Tokyo City Council authorized this plan. The number of trees now has increased to 3,020. The trees were taken from the famous collection along the bank of the Arakawa River in suburb of Tokyo. In February 14, 1912, 3,020 cherry trees were shipped from Yokohama on the board of the ocean liner bound for Seattle. Upon the arrival, they were transferred into insulated freight car for the shipment to Washington, D.C. On March 27, 1912, First Lady Helen Taft and Miss Chida, the wife of the Japanese ambassador, they were planted 2 cherry trees on the northern bank of the tidal basin. At the conclusion of the ceremony, the First Lady presented a bouquet of the American Beauty roses to the wife of the Japanese ambassador. In 1915, in the gesture of gratitude for the cherry trees from Japan, President Taft sent a gift of dogwood trees to the people of Japan. In 1927, the original planting of cherry trees was commemorated by the event of Washington school children. In 1934, the District of Columbia Commissioner sponsored a 3-day celebration of cherry blossom. In 1937, the festival was held to celebrate the anniversary of the presentation of the Japanese cherry tree. The daughter of the Japanese ambassador was crowned Queen of the Cherry Tree Blossom Festival by the Commissioner of the District of Columbia. In 1940, Cherry Blossom pageant was introduced to the festival activity. In 1948, Cherry Blossom Festival continued after World War II. Cherry Blossom Princess was selected from each state. From the pageant of the Cherry Blossom of Princess, a queen was chosen to branch during the festival. The queens is chosen at random by the wheel of fortune. 1957, President of Mikimoto Pulse Inc. donated the Mikimoto Pulse Crown that's to use at the coronation of the National Cherry Blossom Festival Queen on the night of the Grand Ball. The crown contains more than 2 pounds of gold and has 1,585 pearls. This magnificent crown is for ceremony only because of its weight on the young ladies who is crowned queen. In 1994, the National Cherry Blossom Festival was expanded from 1 week to 2 weeks. 2011, 120 trees from the survival of the 1912 trees around the tidal basin were collected by National Park Service and sent back to Japan to retain its genetics. Through this cycle of giving, the cherry trees continue to fulfill their roles as a symbol and as an agent of friendship between the United States and Japan. This year's National Cherry Blossom Festival continued the spirit and traditions of culture exchange, international friendship, and taking time to enjoy the blooming of the cherry trees. Thank you for taking time to watch more about the symbolism and history of the cherry tree. Enjoy the festival. Goodbye.